Thank you. Okay, welcome everybody. Greg here from the Trading Zone. Welcome to all our attendees. I see a lot of familiar names in the room, a lot of our existing members, and some new names as well. So the topic of discussion for today is going to be price action. I know it's a term that a lot of people have heard, and we're going to dig a little deeper into what that means by giving you a brief history of price action. What does the terminology mean? What does it look like? How can we use it? Understanding the DOME. All this should be up on your screen in front of you. Understanding the DOME, or what is commonly known as the depth of market, the time in sales. We're going to look at a data timeline to understand how price action actually filters through the market to help you find patterns in the price action and confirm your trades. And how do we go about trading with price action, and then our conclusion. So let's get started with the presentation. Let me see if I know how to use this software. Okay, so price action. What is it? How can a trader use it to improve their trading? Let's start with that. By definition, price action, we have a couple of different names that you may hear or you may have heard over the years. It's commonly referred to as the tape or tape reading, order flow, time in sales, or time in price. Actually, the term, the concept of price action goes under a few different names. Those are just some of them. And they all essentially mean the same thing. And what price action means to a trader is, what is the last trade that occurred? When did it happen? At what price? So it's the actual here and now of the market. It's at this instant in time. What is the last trade that occurred, and at what price did it happen? How many contracts were traded? It's the actual timestamp of the last order. That's what we refer to as price action. Let me give you a little brief history so we can understand how we've gotten to price action today. And it's an interesting history, so it helps to better understand how we use price action today in our trading. So if we go back 50, 60, 80 years ago, before the invention of computers, before the invention of real-time charts, there was no online trading, and ask ourselves the question, how did traders or investors or speculators, as they were known at the time, how did they operate in that era? How could they have been so successful in their trading? And there's a lot of names that we can refer back to, people like Jesse Livermore and Wyckoff, who traded 60, 70, 80 years ago. What information did they have about the markets, and how were they able to understand what the markets were doing, understand the order flow, and what we call the tape, or the price action? The term price action actually goes back to what we call the ticker tape. And the ticker tape machine was invented, if you can imagine, in 1869 by Thomas Edison, and it resembled what you commonly see as a telegraph machine, and it was essentially built on that exact same technology. And rather than transmitting messages in Morse code as a telegraph machine would, they would use shortened or abbreviated symbols that would refer to the company stock symbol. And along with that company stock symbol, they would add the last price traded for the stock or the company, at the time at which it traded, and the volume that it traded. And on the receiving end, that information would be printed out on a scrolling paper, and that is why we call it the tape, and it refers back to the original ticker tape machines. Now, price action today, obviously, it takes on a bit of a different flavor. Let me just see if I need to move my slide forward. In today's trading realm, we have delayed data, we have real-time data. As most futures traders know, it's almost impossible to trade with delayed data. It is impossible. You need to trade with real-time data. Now, the beauty about price action, or the tape, is that it's available in almost every charting platform. The data that we call price action, or the order flow, or the tape, these three bits of information, essentially the last trade, the time of the trade, and the number of contracts traded, is the raw data that populates every chart and every indicator. So in other words, every time you load your charting application and you're looking at candles or bars or an indicator, that information wouldn't exist if it didn't have the raw data in order to paint that information for you. And that raw data is the time and sales. It is the actual tape that's been going on in the background. Most traders don't think of actually pulling up a time and sales box to actually view that data because they're somewhat overwhelmed by it. But as we move forward in the presentation, it seems to be jumping, you'll see that you can load up an individual panel for price action and read the raw data of the time and sales or the tape. Now, as we move forward, it's important to understand what we call the timeline or the flow of the data.